Welcome, everybody. My name is Michael, and today we're discussing about tipflation and how COVID and the recent economic downturn has impacted that. This is crazy. The tipping culture in America is so different compared to Europe. In Europe, you don't really think about tipping unless you really had an amazing experience. And in many restaurants, it just doesn't really even occur. It's kind of a weird thing. I mean, it's a very appreciated gesture, but it's not necessary because the better restaurants already have it included in the bill, and it's usually a smaller amount than you would even pay in America. In the 1950s, in America, it was standard practice to tip 10% of the bill, and that was at restaurants. And yes, some people tip at hotels and tip their taxi cab drivers and tip, various services, right? But for the most part, it's restaurants, maybe bars if you had an amazing experience, taxi drivers, limo drivers, anything that maybe Uber, maybe obviously DoorDash, the gig delivery services, that's already kind of included. But going above and beyond, many people don't really do that. However, it has increased recently the percentage from 10% of the bill to suddenly paying more than 21% on average. So now, many of these places you go to and you pay with a card, they have a terminal and it says recommended, it starts you off at 18%, goes into the 20s, and it's like, wow, this is crazy. So of all the places that transactions occur that offer tipping, it went up from 43.4% in February 2020 to 74.5% just 3 years later. So this means on average, more businesses are asking for customers to tip. This is huge. You're going out to get a boba tea for $5, $6, $7 because of inflation, and that's already pretty expensive for you. And then they ask for an 18% tip. Well, maybe the server, well, not even server, but the cashier gave you such an amazing experience that, hey, let me tip this person. There's been situations where, yes, I've gave $1 or whatever in Starbucks or something. I don't know if I really wanted to, if the person was really, really nice. Hey, what's the best thing you can recommend? I don't know. I was feeling super happy, but for the most part, I don't really tip in those establishments. I tip at restaurants. I tip the standard. I don't go above the standard unless it was an amazing experience. In Poland, when I had more money and I understood that tipping wasn't the average, I would tip, and if it was a great experience, I would tip a pretty decent sum for over there, but still lower than American standards. Maybe there was one time, I think I went to like Pizza Hut, and this girl server was absolutely amazing, and I was like, you know what, screw it, here's 50%. And because that amount, it was a pizza, like whatever, who cares? If you're going to a fancy restaurant, tipping 20% when the bill's $200, $300, yikes, right? You go to a hairstylist, you tip there as well. So tipflation has obviously increased. Large part of it is COVID. There is a very interesting culture here, and part of it is due to the fact that I had a server recently that was purchasing a car from me, and what's the income that you can actually report? Well, it was like $7 something per hour. Like, whoa, but that's normal. Some places are $4, $5, whatever. It depends whether you're in the city of Chicago or outside, or I don't know the exact amounts, but they're really tiny because they account obviously for tipping. And in certain establishments, you're able to make $600 in a single night because you're very good at it. Now, I'm not talking about, the adult stuff. I'm talking about like a normal, in the city restaurant or maybe slightly upper scale. You're able to make a pretty good, decent living off of that. If you know what you're doing, if you're a good server, if people want to tip you, maybe you're a little hot, as a girl, but there's certain things you can certainly do, and you're going to make more than average. However, there's plenty of establishments where without tipping, obviously you can't pay any bills. You're making even less than minimum wage. But with tipping included, certain restaurants take a portion of that and you're not getting the full amount. Square has made it easy now for businesses to ask for 15, 20, 30%. I go to the hairstylist, they have a little Square terminal. It's great. However, it makes it easy, it makes it convenient, but it's off-putting when you're going for something normal that you usually wouldn't tip. You go to a convenience store, what am I tipping you for? You purchase something for $2 Well, what am I tipping you for? Yes, a 10% tip on $2 is not a lot, but again, why am I tipping? Why am I paying for the fact that inflation is existing here? I would rather you raise the prices slowly, which they already have, and not offer tipping at all to offset for whatever losses you have. I understand products will go up, and most of American consumers understand this exactly. So it's crazy because the tip options, instead of asking for 15, 20, 25%, they set them at 20, 25, 30, 40%. They put this pressure on the customer. What if the cashier's staring at you? They're not going to do anything, but what if you hit no? And I have to hit, out of 100 times that I hit no, I might have hit twice. Here's a tip for the hairstylist or for stuff that you normally tip. In a survey, 22% of people feel pressure to tip when prompted by a tablet what they normally wouldn't have. So this is a situation that for a business, they're making more money. However, you have to think about this. Do you want to be the cheapest? Do you want to be the cheapest and make up for that? And, for example, tips and raising the cost of your product slowly once you already have a consumer base? Or do you just want to provide a solid experience and maybe you have a little tip jar if it's like a cafe or whatever, and, a couple people throw in a couple bucks and there we go. Cashier's making more money. Or, as a business owner, do you really want to scare people away with this tipping? Hey, 30%, yes, you're going to make more in the long run, but that could hurt the reputation. Some people may not go to certain establishments. There's a gas station I don't go to anymore. Well, I try not to, because every single time the cashiers there are forced to, do you want to have this? Do you want to sign up for this program? Do you want to? No, I don't. I don't. And I'd rather go to the gas station down the street, even if it's a little bit further away, because they're not going to ask me anything. I really enjoyed that. I went to the other gas station. Okay, here you go. That's it. Cool. Didn't ask me, do you want to be part of our program? Do you want to tip? Do you want to round up for this? You go to McDonald's every time. Do you want to round up for McDonald's? No, I don't. I don't. Because some of those charities, the businesses only do it for tax purposes, tax write-offs, so they could seem all high and mighty. And I'd rather donate to something I know that my money is going to in a better cause. For example, Tinnitus Talk, $25 a year, and hey, that's gonna support them a lot better than rounding up at all these places. Anyways, tipflation is such an interesting culture here. Now, what's interesting is in Europe, you might have a slightly different culture where if someone is able to present to you a great service, whatever it is, whether a tax accountant or lawyer or doctor, I don't know. I'm sure in America you have it slightly as well, but you have a gifting culture, correct? Instead of tipping, you can gift something. Hey, here's wine, here's cheese, here's, in America you have this as well, but it's slightly different. So that's fine. Tipping culture is fine. I wish we were similar to France or Europe or whatever, where it was already in there in the bill. We were without it, and the restaurants would pay their employees more, and we would steer away from this. And if someone wants to tip, they can tip, but it's not necessary. And most of these places should stop this. But ultimately, I know it's not going to change anytime soon. We aren't Europe, and things work differently. However, it's bad because if you don't tip at a restaurant, then you're not supporting these sometimes very low paid individuals, and they can't pay their, rent or food or whatever. And there's a lot of negative consequences from just the tipping culture in general. Tipflation also has a lot of negative connotations with it because most people, again, they're going to have the mentality, myself, you go into a convenience store, you don't want to tip, and the fact that inflation is going higher, just increase the prices of the products, people will still purchase. Maybe not everybody, but it is what it is. Generally, the economy, we are in a very tight position right now, and it worries me because gas prices are going back up again, and obviously that was supposed to happen. But it's just like ever since I got back to America, man, it's been tough. It's been a tough past couple of years. In Poland, in America, I want the good times to happen again. It's always, we're late to the party. Everybody else had a good time. Most people had a good time, and then a couple of us were always late. That's it. The good times went and goodbye. And I've been miserable in debt and just, bad credit and a really, really terrible position financially for the past couple of years. It is generally getting better, but like this past month has not been that great, and I know this one's not going to be great. It's tough. So, anyways, that's pretty much that. I just want to thank you so much for watching today's video. Have a good one. Take care. Good old Chicago.